Hello and welcome to the Christmas New Year edition of SFP-Now and GenreTainment. We're combining the shows. We're crossing the streams. And with me here is Marx Pyle from GenreTainment. We have Jeff Burns from Super Geeked Up and the DC Action Hour. And joining us for the ride this year is Raissa, who writes over at SciFi Pulse, does a lot of Big Finish reviews. Has also been reviewing Legends of Tomorrow. So welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us again. Hello.
It's cool. Okay, well, what we're going to do today is we're going to do our best of and worst of the year. We're going to be doing movies, TV. Jeff's going to be doing some books, and then we're going to end the show with our prediction with our TV and movie predictions for 2018. So I think we agreed we'd start off with movies, right?
Yes, movies. Let's do it.
Okay, wwho wants to go first? We've got 3 movies each.
I will go last.
Okay, well, you would have to be awkward.
Marx is going to go last because he hasn't seen any movies, he told me. He just wants to copy our things.
Okay. Well, here's the rules. We've got 3 best movies, so we can have 3. We can have 3 movies that we consider to be the best of 2017, and we can have 1 bad movie. And it's same with TV. 3 TV shows, 1 bad TV show.
All right. Why don't we let since this is the first time on the show, right? For the year end, why don't we let Raissa go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Good movies. I really loved Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's my favorite. My next favorite would be Spider-Man: Homecoming. It finally felt like a Spider-Man movie. And let's see, a third would be... I can't really come up with the third.
No, that bodes well for 2017.
Wow, then that means that there was only 2 decent movies in 2017. That's scary.
Yeah, I've the problem I'm having is that I enjoy these movies when I watch them, and then they fade from memory as time goes on, and I can't retain them anymore.
I just wrote a few down. That's how I did it. I just wrote a few down. There's one movie I wanted to mention. But
Wonder Woman.
Absolutely. Yes. There we go. Yes, yeah. And I think we're all going to agree on that one.
Yes.
Yep.
So, Spider-Man: Homecoming. What was it that made you choose that? You said it felt like a Spider-Man movie.
The whole tone of it. Plus, I really enjoyed the character dynamics between Tony Stark and Peter Parker, and it was also just really good setup for that portion of what will be Infinity War when it comes out.
Cool.
So
okay. Jeff, do you want to go next?
Sure. All right, so I did my choices, and I ranked them actually 1, 2, 3. So I'll start with the third one and work my way up to number 1. Number 3 for 2017 is the Beauty and the Beast live-action film. The animated one by Disney is actually one of my favorite animated films of all time, and I think they did an awesome job with the live-action. Very was like the original. They were faithful to it, and they had a couple things which I think were nice too, though. Didn't take away from it, so I think they did a great job with that. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And my top 2 are actually both DC films. Number 2 is Justice League. I've been waiting a very long time for a Justice League movie, and I was very pleased to see that it was actually pretty much everything I ever wanted out of a Justice League. I think it was awesome. I loved the film. It was super well paced. The characters were expertly cast, and they just worked really well together. So I love that movie a lot. And number 1 is Wonder Woman, which obviously got pretty rave reviews from just almost everyone I talked to anyway. But yeah, Gal Gadot, I think, is the perfect Wonder Woman. I hope she plays that for a very long time, because I want to keep seeing her in that role for many, many movies. She just rocks and kicks ass, and it's a great hero. There's a lot of dark heroes nowadays, and anti-heroes, but it's nice to see one who's so full of hope and a good beacon of light, and somebody that other people can look up to and try to emulate. And I think that movie did a great job of showing that with Diana. And so I think even though DC gets a lot of crap, particularly in past years, and somewhat deservedly, this year I think they knocked it out of the park, at least for me. Both the Justice League and Wonder Woman, I think both their movies this year, they did a really good job.
Yeah, I agree with you on Wonder Woman. I also agree with you on Justice League, and I don't understand why they gave it so much flack, because I thought it was actually a pretty good movie, all things considered. They actually got Superman right this time, which was good. But there was people complaining about the fact that he had a moustache and it was CGI'd over or something, and I didn't notice it.
Francis said that to us on our show. He guessed sometimes on our DC Action Hour show. I completely forgot you told me that. I didn't notice it at all. Like, I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, okay, I guess it happened, but who cares? That's the thing. That drives me nuts. Why do little things like that make people hate movies? Like, who cares about the mustache? Even if you didn't like it. That doesn't have anything to do with the story of the movie.
Yeah, I thought the story was okay. I mean, it did have its problems, but I didn't go in there to criticize the movie. I went in there to enjoy myself, and I enjoyed myself, and I went out enjoying the movie. I thought it was good.
Good. I mean, I don't think that's probably not the main problem people have is the mustache. I'm sure they had other issues too.
Yeah,
that's the number one reason with critics.
Yeah, I think a mustache.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture Marx with his beard and mustache CGI'd out and see, wonder if you'd notice it.
That'd be super weird. I've never seen it without those.
Okay, so any honourable mentions to movies that you that didn't quite make the list? Just out of curiosity.
Oh yeah, I have some. But do you want to go to you and Mark's first for your tops?
Yeah, we'll go with Matt's and me, and then we'll do honourable mentions. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Sure. So I haven't actually watched very many movies that came out this year. I've just been really busy, and some reason I suspect.
We'll now some overlap from last December into this year.
Well,
that helps.
I suspect number 3 would be somewhere. Either one of the ones I haven't seen, like Logan, Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Homecoming, new Star Wars movie. Probably one of those would be it, but I haven't watched them, so I can't tell you exactly which one. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is one I did watch, and I enjoyed quite a bit. Maybe not quite as much as number 1, just because it wasn't as fresh, but it was still nice to see those characters, and there's some good story there. And then, of course, my number 1 is Wonder Woman. I think it was the best example of a female superhero or female action character that we've ever had, and it was a good story, and I hope they do more. I think they're probably going to fast forward to the present, but I'm kind of hopeful that Wonder Woman movies would just be kind of set kind of throughout time,
Yeah,
that would be
that's
great.
what they should do, man. Different decades. Yeah, just work their way slowly up towards the present.
That's what they should do.
I thought I read that they were going to do the next Wonder Woman movie in the Cold War somewhere.
I think it's going to be the past, too. I don't think they're going to go present. I'm pretty sure they're going to go past.
That's a good idea, I think. And so hopefully they'll do that, because I think that's makes it unique a little bit. Except for Captain America, First Avenger, there hasn't been any really like that.
Mm-hmm. If they were to do it that way, get old. They could actually do it that way. And if they were to recast Superman and Batman like they're talking about doing, because there's been some rumours that they're looking to revamp the Justice League going around. I don't know how much truth there is to them, but they've been talking about it a little bit.
I definitely shouldn't, because the cast they have is amazing.
I feel like Warner Brothers they give their marketers a little bit too much power sometimes, or somebody, because some of the decisions are kind of wonky sometimes.
But I think if they were to do that time thing with Wonder Woman, it'd make a fit in with whatever cast or whatever lineup they end up using. Even if they kept it the same, it should still fit in with it.
Mm-hmm.
What's
really nice about Wonder Woman is it did what I have a lot of problems with a lot of superhero movies nowadays, that they have to work in a million other guest star superheroes into their films, and that drives me nuts. I don't think that's good. How you tell the best story as a filmmaker, I don't think that's the way to do it. Wonder Woman worked, I think, a lot because it focused on her alone.
Mm-hmm.
Batman wasn't in it. Superman wasn't in it. All these other people were not in this movie. It was Wonder Woman. The movie was about her and her alone, and obviously the other, like Steve Trevor, of course, and stuff. But the people who made sense, who were supposed to be in her story. I wish more superhero movies did that. It was just about this hero. Let's follow this one character protagonist on their story.
Well, I think that's the big misstep that the DC universe has done. Like Marvel took their time, introduced each character, give them their own movies, and kind of grew into this universe, where DC kind of wanted to just jump ahead and get right there. And that's not a good approach. It works a little bit better because people sort of know, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, at least. But we don't know these interpretations necessarily. So it does cause a little bit of a learning curve. But people don't know Aquaman or some of the other characters very much. And I think it's a mistake to do that. And it's probably why Justice League didn't do so well in the box office, even if it's a good movie.
Okay, well...
Possibly. See, I'm just going to quickly, though. I actually do disagree with that. I get what your point, and then maybe what if hurt the box office. I actually don't think doing Justice League this really had any problems. Even if you didn't know those characters, I'll be honest with you, I didn't follow all those characters a lot when I was a kid. Not every single one of them. I know more about them now because of the Flash TV show and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think that movie worked as an intro to all those characters on its own, to be honest with you. I actually don't think that was a misstep in terms of storytelling purposes. I don't know. But I mean, I get what you're saying. They may have been more anxious, wanted to see it if they already cared about those characters individually beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Probably.
Okay.
I mean, superheroes are always kind of a tough sell, and they're not as tough a sell now. But when you're talking about, let's just say you never watched a superhero movie, and you're like, okay, there's this show about this alien teamed up with a billionaire in a bat suit and an Amazonian, and then this king of Atlantis and a super fast guy and who's real funny and a cyborg dude, you know, and they all team up and they fight some alien guys from another dimension or something, you know. You'd be like, what are you talking about?
See, I'd be like, that sounds amazing.
People are more accepting of it now, but that's still a little tough sell for, you know, certain general audiences.
First that happened when I was a kid, man. That sounded like the greatest thing in the universe to me.
For kids, sure, but yeah.
But for executives and bankers, no, not so good.
I have read that kids have responded to the film.
The Justice League cut.
Yeah, that Justice League did much better with kids, and that it was a good kids movie.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like the cartoon movies, they do that all the time anymore. They just do new interpretations all the time, and it works okay because younger demographics, you just absorb that stuff. You're like, what's the millionth Pokemon now? I'm going to memorize all the Pokemon, you know? You as a child like to do that. And I think unless you have that background as an adult, you're a little more hesitant to do it. And when you're shooting something that's you got to make billions of dollars from it, you got to be as broad as you can. And I think that's why what Marvel did was a safer bet to approach it that way. And why Justice League's timing was a little bit more risky.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for is it Mark Ruffalo who plays Hulk?
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for him to have his solo movie. I so want to see his
According
solo
to Mark
movie.
Ruffalo, it's not going to happen.
And that sucks. That sucks because I think with him in it, it would have been way better than the one with Eric Bana and the one with
Just go back and watch the Ang Lee one, man. It was amazing. Just watch that movie again.
Oh man, Brokeback Hulk?
Just watch it.
That was terrible.
Just just edit it and put his face over that guy and through the whole movie and just enjoy it.
I like the Edward Norton one actually.
That one was good. That one was good.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I like the way they actually gave you the origin story in the opening credits. You know, like they used to do on a TV show. They kind of did that with the Edward Norton, and that was actually quite good. My choices, this one's going to shock you because a few of them, my number one is probably not what you're going to expect it to be. In third place, Wonder Woman.
Oh, wow. Well, it's on there though. That's good.
Second place, Justice League. I liked it a little bit better than Wonder Woman.
All right, nice.
Just a little bit better. But my first choice is War for the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, I didn't see that coming.
The final part of the Planet of the Apes trilogy. I thought it was a brilliant film. A lot of it was done in silence, as in it was a lot of subtitles of the apes talking to each other, and and a lot was sort of like in silence. But it had a great soundtrack, and it worked the way it was done. It really worked. The conflict between Caesar and I think it was Woody Harrelson who was playing the big bad in this one. The conflict between Caesar and him was really believable. It kind of ended in such a way where it kind of sets things up for the original 1960s Planet of the Apes movie to sort of start sort of thing.
So they this is it for them? They were just going to do a trilogy? They're not going to keep going?
Well, that's apparently it, yeah. That was the last film. But it was done really well. It was done really, really well. And, I actually watched the original Charlton Heston Planet of the Apes immediately after it. And if you overlook the special effects and everything like that, it actually works from a narrative point of view, from the story point of view.
Cool.
I think so. But, that was my favourite movie of the year, was War for the Planet of the Apes. And
I forgot about that one. It looks like it's going to be really good. It was good.
And they got a few honourable mentions, so I'll throw these out and you guys can sort of add to them. Star Wars The Last Jedi, I'll give an honourable mention because it doesn't do what you expect it to do with certain characters. there's been a lot of theories on the internet about certain characters and about what's going to happen, and it completely and utterly flies in the face of them. And it's not like there's a line in it that Luke Skywalker says to Rey, and says, "This isn't going to turn out the way you think it's going to turn out," sort of thing, and that actually sums up the film. And that I liked it. And the fact is, most of the Star Wars fans, as in the hardcore Star Wars fans, hate it. They're saying Disney's ruined Star Wars. I think it's great because it's sort of like it defied what people's expectations were of it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so I could be wrong, but I think it's funny because it's like everybody was so hard on Force Awakens because they said it was too much like the original Star Wars movie.
And this one isn't like.
And this one, they're like, it's too different, and it's like,
well, no, that actually makes perfect sense. I was one of those people who don't like Force Awakens because it's too similar, but I was in the minority. Much more people loved Force Awakens, so that's the group now that's going to obviously not like this one. It makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Force Awakens is a very popular movie, actually. Most people I talk to, and I talk to Star Wars fans all the time at Comic-Cons, they love Force Awakens. I'm not in the majority of people who don't like Force Awakens. But there is a lot of people like me as well. I mean, there's a good, strong contingent. But
I think this was better than Force Awakens. Because it went completely...
You actually gave me hope that maybe it's actually worth seeing this movie, because I said I was done with Star Wars, to be honest with you, after Force Awakens and Rogue One. But
yeah, it completely goes against expectations, because there's been a lot of theories and a lot of talk about about certain characters and what's this is going to happen, and they've been going from the old continuity in the comics and the old books, that no longer continuity, and they've been making up theories based on those. And Rian Johnson just completely flies in the face of it and does his own thing with the movie. And I just thought it was really well done, and I loved the way it ended. And a lot of fans are going against it. It's really hard for me to talk about it. I don't want to spoil it for anyone that's not seen it, obviously, sort of thing. But I really enjoyed it. There's certain bit with Finn that kind of it works well.
Stop talking.
Yeah, stop talking. This was
After you said I don't want to spoil it, just end it there. End there.
Yeah,
it's good.
This is an honorable mention. You don't need to go in detail.
This is more detailed than any of the top three movies.
Okay. Other honorable mention is Spider-Man: Homecoming, because I think it's sort of like, as Reese said, it's probably the most Spider-Man film that they've done, and also Logan, which was kind of like spaghetti western. I loved the way it was a futuristic, post-apocalyptic spaghetti western sort of thing.
It was a great film, but I had to watch something happy afterwards because it was so depressing.
Yeah, I watched the Smurfs afterwards, and that made me happy.
Logan's also on my honorable mentions. By far the best Wolverine movie, not even close. So yeah, it's very good.
Mm-hmm. So
a good, nice end chapter for you, Jackman.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, my honorable mention is Beauty and the Beast, for all the reasons that Jeff brought up. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I've not seen it yet. I'm not really seen any of the live-action Disney stuff yet.
Check it out.
I was disappointed. Beast wasn't Rumpelstiltskin, so
get out of here. However, that is the best character once upon a time.
Well,
yeah.
was.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. I have two other quick honorable mentions. Mainly just because these movies were fun and better than I expected. Kong Skull Island actually turned out to be like an awesome action movie, I thought.
I loved it, actually. Yeah.
It was really well done. And then also I'm going to put a movie on that got destroyed by critics and audiences. And I finally watched it on Blu-ray, and I thought it was a lot of fun. That's The Mummy.
I liked it. Yes.
I thought that was okay. I liked it.
I thought it was a fun movie. There's actually some nice humor in it. It's a good action flick. Now that kind of set up like their whole horror franchise they want to do, and I think they're still moving forward. I don't think they've given up just because they didn't. Are they?
I don't know.
No, I think because they had too many films in the works. I think they're still moving forward.
Okay, Matt. Before we move on, any honorable mentions?
Oh, just all my potential third options I watched.
Okay, worst movie of 2017.
Yeah, it's really hard. One that because I didn't watch very many, I didn't watch bad ones for sure. One I watched on the plane when I was flying, because I watched a few. It was Aliens Covenant, and I liked Prometheus okay. And,
I love Prometheus.
And I thought the ending of it was very promising for what a sequel could be, and I thought I was very disappointed in the direction they went with Covenant. So that was, talk about Logan being a downer, that was super downer movie.
I'm with you though, man. I liked Prometheus. The ending was great, and then Covenant just made no sense. Like how they continued Covenant from Prometheus. I was like, you just wasted everything you did in Prometheus.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
I'm not saying it was a terrible movie, but it was definitely a disappointment.
I'm curious if those choices are writer choices or those were like practical choices they had to make because of stuff. I'm trying not to spoil.
Ridley Scott did both of them, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, like actor availability, stuff like that. If that had played a part or not, I don't know. Because I can't imagine whenever he ended that was where he was planning on going with it. I don't think. It just seems so
bizarre.
Weird. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have any bad movies because I think I on purpose skipped anything that I thought would be a bad movie, so I just didn't bother.
I just watched this the other night for the very purpose of having a bad movie, and it's Transformers: The Last Night.
Oh God, yeah, I skipped that on purpose. Yeah.
And I think Anthony Hopkins sums it up with, "You're not gonna make me tell you about the plot, are you? In an interview." sort of thing.
Anthony Hopkins is in that movie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy! He basically plays a professor character that spews a load of expositional stuff about how the Autobots were involved in King Arthur's court or something. It was just sort of like really mad, crazy,
I had no idea it had to do with King Arthur's court. Okay.
Well, they're trying to do Transformers and mix it with Arthurian stuff. It was doomed to fail. But that was my.
That sounds like a weird
worst.
mix.
All right, so I'm not gonna call these like terrible movies. I'm gonna call them my biggest disappointments because I have two movies that are kind of tied that I was super pumped for them. Both of these I saw at Comic-Con, one this past summer, the one before that, and the footage looked amazing. I was so excited to see them, and then they did not deliver at all. One is Atomic Blonde, the other is Valerian, the City of a Thousand Planets.
Oh, you didn't like Atomic Blonde?
You were with me, Mark. Like they showed that the fight scene. It was the fight scene. It was all one take. I was like, after I was like to Marx, I was like, oh my God, it's one of the most amazing fight scenes I've ever seen in a movie. I was so excited. And then that was the best part of the whole movie. I already saw it. So, like, the action's good. Like, absolutely. The acting's solid. The story is just, there's no story, basically. So, like, I was really disappointed. I thought the movie was going to be amazing. Valerian, again, looked awesome in 2016 at Comic-Con. I didn't know about it until then. Oh my God! Why can't I think of the guy's name? The director, the French director.
Luc Besson.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously I like his work from Fifth Element, and other stuff he's done. And then this movie did not work at all. Story wasn't good. Like the Dane DeHaan, I actually like him, and Cara, I don't know how to say her name, Delevingne.
Yeah, with the eyebrows.
I don't know. I haven't seen her or anything, but they did not. Unfortunately, their chemistry was non-existent. They just did not work together.
She was in Suicide Squad.
Oh, is she the Temptress?
Oh, yeah, she played the witch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I actually liked her in that. Okay, so I'm not saying these are bad actors. They're not. But I'm saying that fortunately they didn't click together. They're trying to do this whole, like kind of romance. Oh, they don't really want to get together, but at the end, they're going to, and that kind of deal.
I've not seen that one yet. I've been thinking about renting it just to see it, to top off the year with, so I can say I've seen it, check it off the list. So,
Yeah, I wanted it to be so good. And I actually just last week, this also was a disappointment. Kingsman: The Golden Circle was disappointing to me.
Yeah, it's too long.
It was so amazing.
Too freaking long. The first one was great, but the second one was just too long. They needed to edit it a bit more. And edit about half hour off it, because I was bored.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was kind of dull. You're right. The first one was like not dull at all. It was super exciting.
Because I was actually watching it that night when I was watching you guys on a DC Action Hour.
Oh, I remember you said I don't know whether to listen to you guys or watch this. I was like, just watch us.
I kind of watched it for a little bit while I was listening to yous, and I was bored by that, so I ended up turning.
That's why it was dull, because we were so much more exciting.
You were,
there you go, Mark.
actually.
So we put that on our tagline now. We are more exciting than Kingsman.
Yeah. You know, that you can use that as a tagline. DC Action Hour, more exciting than Kingsman: The Golden Circle.
More exciting than watching Channing Tatum. He's in the movie.
And Jeff Bridges in that movie, and he's not really used at all. You know.
Well, neither is Channing Tatum, actually. Channing Tatum should not be in that movie. The way they do that with him, it's ridiculous. He's not in it.
It was a good panel at Comic-Con, though, but yeah.
Oh, it was. By the way, Mark, they actually showed us a lot of stuff. They showed us like 3 different clips. I remember seeing them all when I watched the full movie. I was like, oh, that's right. I've seen all this stuff already.
Yeah, it's a good panel.
The opening, by the way, that you saw, Mark, is still the best part of the movie.
So that's everyone's worst movie of the year. Have you had a worst yet, Matt? So
yeah, it's Alien's Covenant.
Alien Covenant, yeah. I've not seen it. I gave up after Alien 3, to be honest. So I've not really followed it.
You gave up a long time ago.
I kind of checked out. I checked out after Alien 3. I just felt, they're dragging this out. So now moving on to best and worst TV series. So this can be new TV series as well as returning TV series. You can also have animated TV series. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first, I guess. Let's do best first, just to be happy.
Well, what we'll do best first, and then we'll go around and do worst.
Okay. Thunderbirds Are Go is actually on my best. Just because Thunderbirds Are Go is giving me a lot of what the live action shows aren't, which is namely just really nice people who actually fix problems. and don't have 11-1 existential crises before lunch on their way to doing it. They just get the job done.
FAB.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys familiar with Thunderbirds Are Go?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the new stuff.
Yeah. The new stuff. It's actually entirely CGI animation. It's really good. And the animation and models, it's actually done by Weta Workshop, who did all the Lord of the Rings stuff. So that's going to be on my honourable mentions, is Thunderbirds Are Go. So you got another 2?
Yes. Because I haven't seen enough of Librarians yet, I can't put that on the list in all good faith. But I am going to put Legends on the list. Legends is actually one of my best. I know that you, Jeff, you don't like it, but I'm absolutely loving it. And as with Thunderbirds Are Go, it's one of those shows that's actually just giving me everything I need. So.
Mm-hmm. And
then my third one is Game of Thrones. Just because Game of Thrones, they're actually delivering on what they promised. They're actually going down the roads they set up. And that's very refreshing, because a lot of these shows, they get sidetracked. They get weird and they get sidetracked. Plus, you got to give them extra credit just for being able to go on, even though they ran out of books. Mm-hmm. That's not a minor thing.
I've noticed that since they've run out of books, the episodes have become more streamlined and seem to go by a lot quicker.
Yes.
It's so like, so I've been enjoying Game of Thrones as well, and that's going to be an honourable mention for me.
Is he still going to write books or no, or is he just concentrating on the series now?
He says he's technically writing books, but he's doing it so slowly that a lot of people have just given up. I mean, even if he gets the books out in a timely manner, I'm not reading books 6 and 7. I've had it. I'm going to just take whatever the series is and just have that be what it is. Because it's pointless now. It really just is.
So before we go to worst, Jeff, what are your best 3 of the year?
All right, my best 3 are all new shows. Number 1, I'll go in order. Number 1 is The Orville, the Seth MacFarlane Star Trek-esque sci-fi TV series. This, when we get to another category, I'll mention another show. But this is the show that's giving me everything I want out of Star Trek, everything I love out of Star Trek, even though it's not Star Trek. But obviously Seth MacFarlane loves Star Trek, and he's paying homage to it in a very nice way, with more humor than obviously the original Star Trek series have. But the only bad news is they only did 13 episodes. That's already done for the season.
No, they've done 12, haven't they?
I think so. They're done. Oh, 12. You're right. I'm sorry, 12. I wish there was 13. I guess that's what I wanted. There was 12, and they just finished last week. So we have a long wait, but it was really good. Number 2 is The Gifted, set in the X-Men universe, but with not the characters we've seen in the movies. Just a really, really smart, well-done show, and really kind of addressing what I think the X-Men always did the best in comics, which are these people who are not accepted because they're different, and really kind of tackling that social issue and what it means to find out that your kids are mutants when you think, when you didn't know that. And then number 3, I just added this to the list actually because I just started watching it 2 days ago. It just came out on Amazon like 4 days ago. It's called Jean-Claude Van Johnson.
Oh, yes.
So here's the concept. What if Jean-Claude Van Damme was actually a secret agent pretending to be a movie star? So it's Jean-Claude Van Damme coming out of retirement to go do Black Ops again. And the thing is, this show, dude, it's an action comedy. It's really funny and it's great action. Like he's obviously he's having fun with himself. He's making fun or he's talking about his past movies like Time Cop and Bloodsport. But also there's some awesome action. Dude, Jean-Claude Van Damme he can still kick ass. He's got the moves down. He has not lost and I think he's got to be around 60 now. I was doing the math from when I was watching him back in the day. He's looking good, and he's doing all that stuff. He's doing all those stunts, fights himself in the show. I'm halfway through. It's a short season. I'm halfway through. I watched 3 episodes. I'm not going to put it on there because it's so much fun. And Jean-Claude Van Damme, back in the day, man, he was my go-to guy. Him, Schwarzenegger, Seagal. I watched all their action movies. If there's a Van Damme movie, I watched it. Absolutely. I loved all those things in the 80s and 90s. So it's nice to see him back in something really fun again.
Yeah, I loved him. I loved Kickboxer and, all those films that he did back in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. And I actually seen a pilot episode on Amazon for that about 4 or 5 months ago. And
yeah, I think it must have been one of their pilot competition things, right?
Yeah, it was. And I actually voted for it as well because I really liked it, so...
Nice.
It was
Marx, I highly recommend this to you, since you're obviously a big martial arts fan too. I think you would get a kick out of the show.
I saw the pilot whenever they're doing the pilot season contest deal. That's funny.
Yeah.
Did you like it? All right, good. So the Looper, by the way, joke is I just love that so much. Time Cop is a million times better than Looper. It's so good.
So, Matt, it's over to you.
Are we doing returning?
Best, it can be anything. It can be new. It can be new and returning. We can mix and match.
Okay, I'm gonna cheat and do 3 of each.
What the hell? Get out of here!
Get out of here! You're only out 3, dude.
No, you gotta mix. You can do honorable mentions afterwards.
It's too hard.
Honorable mentions. You gotta do it.
We'll do honorable mentions, dude.
Okay, so we haven't done a lot of animated, so I'll pick one anime one. That's Troll Hunters. It just came out in season 2.
Ooh.
That's a good one by Del Toro. That is good for a wide age range, and stars Anton Yelchin, who unfortunately passed away not too terribly long ago. But they still record his voice for both season 1 and 2. It was a surprise for me how good it was, and it's entertaining even if you're an adult. So I liked, since you picked an Amazon show, I'm sure I'll probably like that one too, but I like The Tick. I'm a big Tick fan, and this is a very different interpretation of Tick in a way, or a little darker than the other live action show we got a while back from Fox, I think, and the cartoon. But so it took me 2-3 episodes to really click. When it clicked, I really enjoyed it a lot and want to see more of it because it was a pretty short season. So that's a fun superhero comedy show. It's really hard to pick a third because there's so many good new shows and shows out there anyway. I'll do a lot of honorable mentions, so I'll just pick one that's a safe bet is Game of Thrones also. So they did a good job this season. I have this group of friends that we do they do a screening or a watch it live show, thing, and that was added to the experience even more, and they delivered on a lot of promises. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'm going to start my 3. One of my 3 is a new show. The other 2 are returning. Number 1, The Gifted. Really smart, clever TV show. I basically binge-watched a load of it. I found it on Fox here in the UK. and it wasn't really advertised here at all, or anything has been on. And I just basically, I was going through the TV channels one night, and I found it, and I just binge watched the first 6 episodes, and I've been hooked ever since. And it's sort of like Stephen Moyer in a different role. So it's nice to see him working again after True Blood, which probably could have potentially ended his career given the final season was so bad. And I just love the fact that he's set in a world after the X-Men. The X-Men have disappeared, and there's still all these mutants left behind that are struggling against an oppressive regime. It's just a really good show, quite enjoyable. My second choice is Star Wars Rebels. This 4th and final season that they've been showing, it's really kicking ass. Although I've just found out that it's not gonna lead into the battle that we see in Rogue One, unfortunately. So it's going its own way. But I really enjoyed that set of characters: Hera, Ezra Bridger, and Kanan Jarrus. It's just been a really good show, and I've just really enjoyed this season. And they're all on Lothal now, so they're trying to sort of win back Lothal from the Empire. So it ended on a wicked cliffhanger. And my third choice is Supernatural.
Oh yeah.
Mostly really for the last season with Mr. Ketch, but also because what they're doing with Lucifer's Son in this season, from what I've seen of it so far, I've just really been enjoying it. And I was actually disengaged from Supernatural for quite a while, and I've just come back to it, and I'm really enjoying it again. So that's my my third choice. Honourable mentions, Game of Thrones, and surprisingly The Orville. I started off not really being too keen on it, but as it's evolved, I've gotten more and more into it, so I'm going to give it an honourable mention.
All right, good.
Raissa's shaking her head there as if, I don't agree with you. It's terrible. I give up on it. It's horrible. Too many dick and fart jokes.
Actually, that's not the problem. I'll get into it when we discuss the Star Treks later on. But
And I'm going to give kind of an honourable mention to a show. This is going to cause a lot of controversy. Star Trek Discovery. Because it's kind of gone its own way, and it's doing its own thing. And I kind of enjoyed where it's left off, and there's potential for sort of like various original series episodes that are going to be linked into the continuation of the series. But it only gets an honourable mention, but only just. It's not the best thing I've seen on TV this year, but it's not the worst either. On to you, Jeff, for honourable mentions.
I'm going to let's get some DC shows in here, because Marx and I talk DC Action Hour obviously every week. Arrow, I'm going to throw definitely on. It actually was my number 3, and then I wanted to put John Claude on there. But Arrow, this season actually I think it's been really good. I think Arrow is really back on track now after, and actually last season they were getting back on track for sure, I think too. So when you combine the kind of both those, I think it's really doing well now. I really enjoyed it a lot. I actually think almost all the episodes this season have been quite good, and they've done some good stuff there. And I would throw in. Actually, I'm going to throw in Supergirl too, because even though the first 2 seasons I had some issues with, this season they are rocking. I actually think it's the best DC show right now in 2017 for me personally, in terms of how consistent they've been. So I'll throw that in too.
Yeah, I just love the fact that she got the snot beat out of her in the last episode. That was just brilliant. How on earth are they gonna resuscitate Supergirl from after such a beatdown? That's what
she's not dead. Come on.
I know she's not dead, but I'm just wondering how many episodes it will take her to recover. They could do
none. She'll be recovered next episode. I'm sure. They usually don't do that. Usually we're good. 5 minutes.
So, Matt, you honourable mentions.
Honourable mentions. Well, Stranger Things season 2 is really good. I like Stranger Things quite a bit.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I watched it and I loved it. Yeah.
There's so many new shows, and some of them I've only just started, so it was hard for me to put them on top 3. But I'm really enjoying Runaways. I think they've done a good job with it, both making the kid characters and the teenage characters and their parents very very multi-dimensional or very layered type of characters. So.
Only up to episode 2 of that.
Yep, it gets better and better. Another one that's, I don't remember if it's Hulu or Amazon. I think it's Amazon. Future Man, which is it turned out to be a surprising, funny time travel series that's totally different than any other time travel series you ever seen, and it's also very very R-rated humor and such. So it might not be for everybody, but it's very surprising and it does an interesting job in entertaining.
I'll have to check that out. By the way, it is Hulu. I just looked it up.
Okay. Yeah, so that's been a very interesting show. I also like Orville quite a bit, and I liked, although I didn't feel like there was enough episodes of it, I liked American Gods. I'm curious to see where they go with that. It's an interesting concept. Legion was also interesting. I liked how they did it through this schizophrenic type point of view. They really get you in that mindset of that character. A couple non-superhero ones. Glow was interesting.
Oh, yes.
I forgot the Glow. I get that too.
Yeah, I liked Glow, and it was fun. It made me want to watch. I watched a documentary about the real Glow.
Yeah, so did I.
I gotta watch because Flick suggested after I watched Glow.
Yeah, I've been trying to find old episodes of the of the actual series on YouTube because
Yeah, did you watch it? I watched it back when I was a kid. Did you guys watch it or no?
No, I didn't. No.
We didn't have it here.
I watched it when it was live, man. I remember.
I did when I was a kid. I did watch some pro wrestling, but I did not know about Glow. So, and also this is the last season of Lawnmower. I liked Lawnmower. I think it's a underrated show. It's everybody I ever talked to watches it, enjoys it, and it's sort of like a police detective sort of show that's set by an Indian reservation and such. So it's got some pretty cool storylines that you don't normally see. If you want to look at a good series arc, like taking a mystery, a story, whatever, and see how it runs through the whole series, then that's a great one. They deliver on everything. It was well paced.
Okay, that's fine.
No.
I thought you were going to say some other show that has a murder mystery.
No. Because like Riverdale?
Yeah.
I saw Riverdale season 1. I actually liked it a lot. I've not seen season 2, so I can't comment.
I've not watched it yet. It's on Netflix here in the UK. I'm not bothered with it.
It was surprisingly better than I thought it was going to be. It's got a strong, unique, creative vision, I have to say.
Okay, so...
but Lawnmower's really good, and I think for 5-6 seasons, whatever, it really delivered. And then Punisher is interesting, but very gory and violent, which might not be for everybody. And I think that's about it.
Marx honestly has a list of like 25 honorable mentions.
I know. I think Raissa's got a list to match Marx, so.
Stranger Things is on my honorable mentions list. Let's see. I'm going to put Discovery on my honorable mentions list. It's interesting. Orville, it's like the 2 Star Trek type shows have half of what I want. Here's the thing. I liked Orville's structure, but I don't like the characters. And Discovery, I liked the characters,
but don't like
and I'm willing to stick with. But the actual thing doesn't feel Star Trekky enough, and I'm only watching it because it's good in its own right, just not sufficiently Star Trekky enough.
Yeah, it's just a good sci-fi show, but not really a good Star Trek show. Is the best way to put it, I guess.
They messed up the Klingons.
Yeah, they messed up the Klingons.
That's actually the least of it.
And in the final scene of the last season, a Klingon got her boobs out. It was very, very brief, but there was a bit of boobage on the Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
They showed naked boobs on Star Trek Discovery.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've also heard they've been dropping the F-bomb.
They dropped the F-bomb once. And
look at that, man! All you gotta do is go online. You can do whatever you want. Marx and I know that. We're web series creators.
Well, I actually, in my review of that particular episode where I dropped the F-bomb, I actually criticised it because I said it didn't really feel very Star Trek for them to be dropping the F-bomb. Whereas sort of like, God damn it, Jim, or, something like that, they could get away with back in the day, but it didn't seem very evolved or very Star Trek-y for them to be dropping the F-bomb. And when they did it, it didn't work. It just felt very, very awkward. It was weird.
It was weird.
I do like a lot of the characters. I like the science officer a lot, or of course her lead character. Is she first officer? I don't know what she is now.
First officer, yeah. She's a
Oh no, I'm sorry.
technical advisor. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I like the first officer. That Doug Jones plays.
Saru, yeah.
Yeah, and I like his character's interesting. I like the captain. I mean, he's a very dark, captain.
Yeah, I've got a theory about the captain.
I liked their, even though I don't want to spoil anything, but I like their security guy. I like all the characters really. I like her best friend. I like the engineer. The engineer guy, not the engineer guy. Is he an engineer? Yeah, he's the guy that they hooked up to the machine.
Yes,
he's really good. He's
a science guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think he does engineering stuff, but they do have good characters. It's just very dark for Star Trek. It doesn't completely fit the timeline that's been established with stuff. And I don't like their Klingons very much. I think that really, because since it's this major plot line of Klingon War, it's really boring, and for not what I would have thought a Klingon War would be like. And yeah, and their choice of talking in Klingon is very brave, I guess, but it doesn't work. Very boring.
Yeah, I mean, I find I'm having to pause every time they have those scenes because I can't keep up with the subtitles because it's all go by so fast. And,
really?
Yeah.
Because they talk so slow. That's part of the problem. Is they're like blah.
Yeah,
blah.
but it's all like they have loads and loads. They have like a full paragraph of fucking subtitles.
It's like Marx is fluent in Klingon, as you can see.
They're like, hello, we will now. Or no, I'm sorry, that was too fast. Hello,
it's like,
we will now destroy them.
They're doing their Shatner impersonations.
Oh my god.
There's this flashback of one of the characters when he was a kid, and the kid was like, blah, 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 and like just spouted out really fast. And I'm like, why aren't they all talking like that? It's
you know what happened, though? I think what happened is William Shatner went back in time to the epoch that created the Klingons, and he mated with one of them, and his speech patterns sort of rubbed off.
That could be it. I don't know. Because we're really, they could just done a little more of the ridges. They got like a double nostril kind of thing going on. They could have done that. A couple other little minor things, and then boom, that's it. That's all they had to do. And contact lenses.
And none of them have hair.
They didn't have to go so extreme. Huh?
None of them have hair. They're all bald.
I know, and it looks weird on them because I'm used to the long hair that so many Klingons have.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's probably more scientifically correct because they're reptilian and not a lot of reptiles have hair, but I still look cool.
Yeah. Okay, so honorable mention.
My third honorable mention is a British series, Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams.
Oh, really good series. It's an anthology series based on Philip K. Dick.
I love Philip K. Dick. What is that on?
I didn't know about this.
It's not on in America yet, I don't think. I basically been watching it on Channel 4 here in the UK.
Wait. Raissa's not in England.
No, I've got friends.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got a cool phone app called Showbox, and that's what I use to watch all the US shows.
What the hell, man? England's getting stuff before us. What?
It'll air on Amazon, so those of you with Amazon will get it.
Oh, all right, good.
It's an anthology series, and it's based on Philip K. Dick short stories, and it's really
I just
good.
bought a book of his short stories recently. So that's good.
It's really, really good, and the acting the acting's great in them. They're really, really good stories.
I think his stories have got to be the most adapted to film and TV, right, of any sci-fi writer. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Probably so. Yeah.
Probably also the most fucked up as well. In terms
There's
of
been a lot of awesome ones, though, man.
Yeah, they have, but what was that? They did that one with Keanu Reeves a few years back in A Mirror Darkly. Was it?
Oh, yeah, that was great.
I can't remember what it was. It was an animated one. It was all animated.
Oh, I know the one you mean.
Yes.
That
was a bit weird.
Somewhere.
That was strange.
I didn't know it was Phil K. Dick, actually.
Okay, worst shows. I'm gonna go with Inhumans. I watched one episode. I couldn't watch
I forgot
anymore.
about that. That was really bad.
Yeah, that's my pick.
I only seen the one episode. I couldn't watch anymore. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, me neither.
No.
I saw 4 episodes, I think, and yeah. So
Jesus. I hung in there for Lockjaw. basically. And Anson Mount as Black Bolt. Anson Mount was an MVP. That was a hard role, and he was acting his soul out for just elevating the scripts. Yeah.
He's got to act with those eyebrows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to watch it for the Coup Dog, but I couldn't justify watching the rest of the episodes for the Coup Dog, I couldn't do it.
More lockjaw.
Yeah. it should have been like, they should have made it Lockjaw, and it should have been like Benji. Do you remember Benji, the TV show back in the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
It should have been like that, or Lassie or something, but with Lockjaw and his superhero dog.
Yeah, there's just a lot of weird writing choices in that show, and it just was a bit of a mess. It's too bad because I like Inhumans.
Uh-huh. So,
and I like Marvel quite a bit, but that was not a good show.
Marvel TV. No, not
you like Gifted.
Mm-hmm.
What? No. That's not Marvel. That's not. No, dude. That's seriously. Marvel Cinematic is completely different than other studio stuff, and that's my problem. I don't want to watch Marvel Cinematic. I want to. Fox Marvel stuff is good, but that's not Marvel Cinematic. That's not ABC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now it will be.
Although, that's going to be a big problem.
And another,
I hope the FTC blocks that deal. To be honest with you,
another not so good one for me was, having watched it twice to make my mind up with, and the problem was the fight choreography was a bit dodgy. The lead actor just felt wrong, and that's Iron Fist.
Oh God, yes. Iron Fist was not good.
It kind of.
It gets a bum rap, and it was not as good as Daredevil or Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, but I still liked it okay.
I thought it.
I liked it okay.
It was okay, but
it's the weakest of the Netflix shows. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I put it in the worst in the worst shows.
He's a tough character because it's like. He's some rich white dude. He's got martial art. It's not a unique. It's compared to Luke Cage raised in Harlem, or Jessica Jones, a female detective, or those are characters that have very unique lenses to see the world through, and Iron Fist is something that we've kind of already seen before with Arrow or with other shows.
Yeah, but
plus their fight scenes sucked.
The fight scenes did suck.
I haven't watched it because I gave up on the Netflix shows. They're just too dark for me. I mean, I know a lot of people love them. They're well made, but Iron Fist was most up my alley because of the martial arts. But you're saying this guy who's supposed to be one of the greatest martial artists, right, in the Marvel universe, this fights were the worst out of all the shows, basically.
Yeah, it was really weird. There's a couple of good ones.
There's also the fact that you can actually tell when the stunt double is on the screen. You can tell it's not him.
I hate that. That always takes me out of the thing when I can tell it.
Yeah, it's probably didn't have a mask or anything. So
does he not have his bandana and mask on in this?
He doesn't have any costume now. He might have one for season 2. I don't know.
Wait, so he just has his big curly puffy hair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has a tattoo with the dragon on his chest. When he takes his top off, he's got this tattoo on his chest. And
what is he supposed to know? Kung Fu? Is that the style he's supposed to have trained in?
Yeah, it's Kung Fu.
Yeah.
It's Kung Fu.
Multiple styles.
It's whatever. It's
definitely Eastern though, right? Martial arts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So season 2 might be a lot better. I'm sure they're going to have a lot better fight scenes because there was such criticism about it. I don't know why they have bad fight. I mean, Daredevil has great fight scenes. I don't know why Iron Fist couldn't have better fight scenes.
I felt the fight scenes were actually better when they brought them all together for Defenders. I thought that was actually a better show. Defenders.
They were, yeah. And I like Defenders. I don't think it meshed as well as it could have, but it was still a good show.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but it was still good.
I'm with Jeff. I watch bits and pieces, but I don't really watch the Netflix stuff because it is just too dark.
You should watch Punisher, Jeff. It's uplifting.
It is.
That's why I stopped watching Daredevil season 2. I couldn't take Punisher.
Punisher takes me to my happy place.
You should watch the second half because when Punisher leaves, it gets a lot less violent, less gory.
Mm.
Is he totally out of it after that? Is it just all Elektra from that point on?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Because I love Elektra. So all right, maybe I will. Maybe I'll just skip the rest of the first half.
Yeah.
Elektra's really cool in Defenders. They bring it back in Defenders. But yeah, it's Punisher. Really uplifting show.
It's very uplifting.
That's why.
It's not The Punisher is kind of like the Marvel equivalent of the Nativity.
Oh my God! What? Oh my God!
What?
Oh, that was good. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a reflection. Creators are trying to reflect the state of the world we're in or what, but there's just too much dark stuff on TV. I don't want to see it. Like, that's why I love Orville and Wonder Woman. Like, I need uplifting stuff after all this dark shit.
This is why we love the Orville as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Orville's
But
full of
that's
hope
why-
for the future.
But those characters are street level. They're always supposed to be a little darker anyway. Although I don't think Luke Cage is that dark.
Luke Cage is kind of funny, actually. I think I
don't think
he
Luke
gets off
Cage
some
is too
great
dark.
one-liners.
I haven't seen that because I couldn't take after second season of Daredevil. So. And Jessica Jones, I love Jessica the Alias. I love that comic series. It's awesome, but I can't watch the show. It's way too dark of a story for me to watch visually.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Jeff, I think you wanted to do a few books.
Wait, let me throw in my most disappointing TV show. I didn't get to throw mine in.
Oh, yeah, mine in too.
It's a show I think the rest of you threw on your honorable mention, or at least are enjoying. It's actually Star Trek Discovery. I'm a huge Star Trek is my favorite. Deep Space Nine is my favorite series of all time, followed by Next Generation. But I'm a big fan of all Star Trek in general for a very long time. And yeah, hugely disappointed in this. I actually could not watch past the pilot. It was so non-Star Trek to me. I couldn't take it. I didn't like anything about it. To be honest with you.
Well, if
you want it, I didn't know. I just don't know why they just didn't make a sci-fi show and not call it something else. Don't call it Star Trek. Just go make a sci-fi show that you wanted to make. I don't understand why they had to make it so anti-Star Trek.
It's kind of how I felt about Battlestar Galactica. So I can actually relate to you on that because it's how I felt about Battlestar Galactica. I loved the original because of because it felt like a family show, and it was fun to watch, even though the stories were actually sort of like disused scripts from Gunsmoke and stuff like that. It was still fun to watch. And the new one that Ron Moore did wasn't fun to watch. It was too dark for me, sort of thing. And,
I mean, listen, this is a different take on Star Trek. That's fine. People are enjoying it. That's great. I'm happy they are. This is not what I want out of Star Trek, though. So that's why I'm watching the Orville. That is what I want out of Star Trek.
Well, I got some.
I still don't think you're gonna like it, but it does change a lot with number 2 and even more with number 3 and on. Because number 1's like a prelude almost to what
number one,
series is.
Number 1 and 2, really. You
mean the pilot?
Yeah.
It's
really weird.
The first 2 episodes are a prequel.
Yeah, that's right. I guess both of them are.
Oh yeah, I've heard you and Mark and other people, my friends, tell me that. Which I don't get either. I don't get why that's why they would have structured it.
Well, I mean, online it's a 2-parter, aired at the same time. They didn't do that on CBS for whatever reason, and I think that was a weird.
Yeah, well, because they wanted everybody to sign up, right? But they should have just showed the whole 2-parter.
Yeah, it would sold it a little bit better, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got.
But
some...
I liked Mud on it. He's fun.
Yeah, he's good, Mud. And it felt a little bit Star Trek-y what they did with Mud in the end when in that episode. That kind of.
That's what. It's still dark, but it does feel a little bit. There's certain episodes that feel more like Star Trek than other ones.
Mm-hmm. But I got a bit of news for you that there's a rumour been going around that Nicholas Meyer has actually been working on another Star Trek project.
He was supposed to be a consulting producer on this one.
He still is. He still is, but I think he's working on another Star Trek project. That might be more true to Star Trek.
I don't think that's. There's no way they're going to have 2. They just started this one. They're not going to do another Star Trek one, I don't think, right?
No, they might. I mean, they had a...
I mean, back in the day they did, yeah. I mean, DS9 was running when Next Gen, Voyager was running when DS9 was still running. Mm-hmm. That was like the heyday of Star Trek.
Yeah,
we got 4 DC shows airing back to CW, so...
It might happen. I mean, it's sort of like... I think that's actually what ruined Star Trek the last time, as in it became too saturated in the marketplace, but...
I don't know. Mainly, I think, unfortunately, Enterprise was just not a good series, and that kind of did not help it at all.
It's the only show that ever put me to sleep. There's certain episodes where I literally fell asleep.
Yeah, fourth season.
I will still say Enterprise felt totally like Star Trek, so I can watch Enterprise.
4th season was great of Enterprise. I loved the 4th season.
Yes, it was better in this last season, but it was too late.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's everyone's worst mention. Is that everyone's worst?
I've got one. Yeah. Once Upon a Time.
Oh yeah. Didn't like
no spoilers, please, 'cause I'm like 3 seasons behind.
Okay, yeah. It's Once Upon a Time. I feel like they should have ended it several years, and that they shouldn't have even done this season. And I won't even discuss why, because Jeff doesn't want spoilers, so I'll just stop there.
Thank you.
There probably won't be another season.
It's and let's just say it's ringy crap. Okay, end of.
I do know about Henry, though. I do know, like, he's an adult now.
It is terrible. The end.
Yeah, I watched the
That's
first.
not a very good ending to a fairy tale.
I watched the first 2 episodes of the new season, and I've stopped right there. I can't take it anymore.
I read synopses and I watched pertinent YouTube clips, and that's all I could do. And then after a certain point, after Rumple and Belle's storyline was resolved, I couldn't deal with it anymore, and I gave up. So.
Okay. So onto your books, Jeff.
All right, 3 books I'm going to mention. I've been doing actually a lot of reading this year. So even though I have not been so happy with the Star Wars movies, I have been pretty happy with some of the Star Wars books. My favorite author for Star Wars, he actually is the one who did the original Star Wars books back in the early or mid-90s. That was the heir to the Empire series. And he introduced Grand Admiral Thrawn, who later shows up in Rebels. But Timothy Zahn did a new book called Thrawn, which is about the origin story of Grand Admiral Thrawn. By the way, folks, if you haven't read Zahn's original books, go back and read that. Read Thrawn back then. He's the best villain since Vader, as far as I'm concerned. He's amazing. Zahn is an amazing writer. He's written, I think, now 10. I think this is 10 Star Wars books. I've read them all. They're all great. He wrote other sci-fi stuff as well, which is really good. But go read Thrawn. You don't have to know anything about Thrawn because it's an origin story. So just go read this if you haven't read anything else.
Is this one within the continuity?
This is canon. This is canon. But it also does not violate anything he previously did with Thrawn, which I like. I didn't want him to have to throw that stuff out that he did. I hate that when they say it's not canon anymore. It's bullshit.
Well, I'm starting this.
Next book is from Andy Weir. It's his new book. Andy Weir is the author of The Martian, which obviously, if you haven't read it, many of you saw the movie. Mm-hmm. He has a new book out called Artemis. Just came out a couple weeks ago. I'm about 2/3 of the way through. It's really good, and it's about a lunar colony. So it's set in kind of the near future where people are living on the moon, and it's got a very cool, Middle Eastern female protagonist who gets herself into a lot of trouble, and she's very sarcastic and smart-assy, and she's really cool. And then the third one is actually another Star Wars book. It's actually, this one went along with a video game. It was Star Wars Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad by Christy Golden. I know, Mark, you're rolling your eyes, but
did you say Christy or Christopher?
Christy Golden.
Yeah, I read some of her later
she's
books.
She's read a lot of stuff. Anyway, this kind of leads into, I guess, the game. I actually haven't gotten the game yet, but
I have.
Inferno Squad is kind of like the Empire's version of Rogue Squadron. Mm-hmm. So it's like their special group of 4 people. It's actually really well done. I always like it when you make characters who are on this supposedly evil side, but you actually start to care about them, the way they portray them and what they're doing. We're not supposed to be rooting for them, but you wind up kind of caring about Inferno Squad, even though they're all working for the Empire. I actually definitely recommend it. And again, it's all new characters too. It's totally new characters that just have to tie into the game. But
sounds like Empire propaganda to me.
Well, yes, I am right. Maybe it is.
The dark side's not so bad.
No, don't worry. There's no Sith in it, man. They're just normal. They're special. They're like special forces, basically. Like.
I've been playing the game, and the single player game's actually pretty good.
Yeah, because you get to play, I think, right, as Iden Versio.
Yeah.
Who's the main character in the book.
Yeah, and the game, the game obviously sort of tells her story, and I'll leave it there because obviously you've not played the game. Don't want to spoil it for you.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Books, I've not really been reading that much of late, but I've actually been reading the Jedi, the prequels to the films, these ones by Chuck Wendig, and first one was a bit slow. The second one I've not really started yet, and third, and a book I'm reading actually is Be the Force and it's kind of like about the Jedi sort of like religion. You know, philosophies about the Jedi religion. It's written by Daniel M. Jones, who actually formed the first online Church of Jedi.
Do they measure your metachlorians?
Pardon?
Do they measure your metachlorians?
No, it's just a really interesting read. You know, the guy's got Asperger's syndrome, and he talks about how, you know, he talks about how his love of Star Wars kind of got him into reading about other things such as Buddhism and stuff like that. And you know, he opened this Jedi Church as, you know, to be a force for good. I think it's taking the Star Wars philosophy sort of thing. You know, as in you can be a force for good, or, you know, you can be on the dark side, or whatever. But it's not a religion as such. It's more of an alternate take on spirituality. It's quite an interesting read.
Nice. Although, as you told us, you can say your religion is the force in England, right?
Yeah, you know, well, basically, back in 2000 census, there was a joke going around, and it started off as a joke to, you know, declare yourself as a Jedi Knight under religion. And basically, if so many 100,000 people do it, it's actually classed as a religion, and it's been classed as a religion since 2000. And Dan formed the official Jedi Church in 2007, off the back of that sort of thing. But he sort of like did that off the back of the census, you know. So
cool. Nice.
In terms of books, I've been reading classic literature. I've been reading a lot of H.G. Wells in conjunction with Big Finish, the audios, releasing a series of H.G. Wells adaptations. And then in addition to that, I've been catching up on some comics that were recommended. I bought on sale. I bought Green Arrow Year One, just so that I could, you know, have some context for the beginning of the series anyway. And I also have been reading, slowly but surely, Green Arrow, Green Lantern.
Yes, my favorite.
Yes. I got that on sale at the same time. I've been slowly but surely making my way through it. It's awesome. Regrettably, I don't think they're going to be able to adapt it, if for no other reason than because Supernatural is already the CW's roadshow. And I don't think they have the money for a second roadshow. So that format's not going to work.
You know, Supernatural, it's all filmed in Canada, so they don't really go very far. It's just sort of like...
True. Yeah.
The same hotel set redecorated for every hotel.
And
I don't read that many comics, but the new comic that I've been reading is Bombshells. I absolutely adore the Bombshells Elseworld. It's brilliant. And I'm slowly but surely working my way through the trades. I got through Volume 4. And I kind of wish Bombshells was actually prime continuity, because the characters are so much stronger. In fact, Bombshells Supergirl blows CW Supergirl out of the water.
Wow, oh, really? Wow.
And I absolutely love her. So.
Yeah, I just reread Batman Noel a couple of weeks back. Because I really like that, and I kind of make a point of reading it every year as we're coming towards Christmas. And comic book reading. I've been reading the Dark Horse Comics adaptation of American Gods, which is really interesting. Having seen the first season of the show, it's really interesting how different the actual story is narratively from the show, because the comic book is pretty much an adaptation of Neil Gaiman's book. So, you know.
I'm sorry, which book?
American Gods.
Oh yeah.
You know.
That's an interesting show. Last year I read over 100 books. This year I've not been doing very good about fiction. I've been so busy. I've read a lot of books that are they're nonfiction writing books and filmmaking books, a few role-playing game books. But some fiction that I've started reading that's good so far, just to try to join in the conversation. There's one called After the Golden Age, which is like a superhero one that is about a woman who is the daughter of two prominent superheroes. They're sort of like the Justice League of that world. And she has no powers or anything, and she's sort of a rebel and stuff, and she's an accountant. And she gets thrown into this court trial with their arch enemy who's getting arrested for tax evasion because they can't get him on anything else. But she discovers a bunch of secrets and stuff about him. And the woman who writes it is one of the writers who's been writing off and on in the Wild Cards universe that George R.R. Martin edits. It's a superhero type thing that goes throughout history. So it's really well done. There's another one I started reading that's pretty good so far called Ex-Heroes. That was sort of a surprise because I wasn't sure what it was about until I started reading it. It's basically it's people with superpowers, but it's like in a post-apocalyptic world, near future, where it's like a zombie invasion. So it's like Walking Dead meets superheroes, sort of. And so it's really weird. It's really different. And I've been reading this novella series called Karma Police. It's a cool series where this person is jumping from body to body and is caught up in these murder mysteries. And at first, this person has amnesia, and of course, they don't have a body of their own body, so they can't remember who they are. They don't even know if they're male or female at first, or how they're jumping. But they keep getting stuck, and like there'll be like a murder mystery, and they're spiraling around, jumping from body to body each day to other people, and getting pieces of the mystery until they solve something. And it's pretty clever.
Cool.
Sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, predictions for 2018 in film and TV. Who wants to start this one off?
I'll go for movies first. That at some point in the Infinity War movies, Coulson will be reintegrated into the cinematic. At least I hope.
We'll see.
Interesting. So you think he's going to leave the show, or he's just going to be in both?
I think this is
personally. I don't think the show's going to last much past this season. I think this is the last season.
What are they in, fourth? Or
Fifth.
season?
Yeah.
No, it's fifth.
What?
Fifth.
It's not
Oh, yeah.
fifth. Is it fifth, really?
Yeah, it's fifth.
Holy shit.
Okay.
You know, it's not that long.
Well, the last season was really good.
Yeah, and I've heard good things about the season. I haven't seen it, but they do an interesting job of really changing the format every season. So, but boy, that first season was rough.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I'm going to predict that the X-Men are coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's all. Boom. Drop mic.
That's not, no, don't pick that mic up and shove it up your butt, because that's not any prediction at all. Anybody can predict that.
It's happening. And the Fantastic Four, Galactus, boom, they're there. That might be the main Phase 2 villain is Galactus. We'll see. Who knows?
Fine, I'm going to predict, I think I need to read a whole article on this, but I'm going to predict that's going to be the worst thing that ever happens, that X-Men go to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. No, I honestly think Disney getting a hold of Fox is a terrible thing to happen. I'm going to predict also that basically all these movies become the same cookie-cutter movies we've been seeing. None of them are great movies. They're movies I will forget as soon as I see them. And that the more one company like Disney starts taking over everything, the more similarities we get, and we're not going to get different movies, the less heterogeneity we get, and that's bad for filmmaking. And that's why I don't like what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Differences is good. Sameness is bad. We get the same things over and over again.
I'm going to predict that we could be seeing a Star Wars TV series in the not too distant future.
That's been in rumors for a long time.
I think it's going to be sort of like set before the trilogy or the trilogies. It's going to be set 1,000 years before, so we're going to see
like Knights of the Old Republic.
Like Knights of the Old Republic, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they should do.
Hey, well, those games were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The first game's one of the best games ever made.
I think that's going to be the premise of the Star Wars TV series.
And you're saying live action, right?
Live action, yeah.
Yeah. It's been in the works for a long time. But now Disney is going to have their live streaming platforms. They're going to be really wanting to create original content for those platforms, and Star Wars would be an easy one.
Oh yeah, they get 1 million subscribers just for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then a Avengers versus X-Men movie.
I don't know why I'm doing this. Nobody can see me. I don't know why I'm doing this on camera with a thumbs down.
You're making very rude symbols of his
I'm just doing thumbs down. That's not rude. I'm not flipping you off. I'm not doing this.
Another prediction I have, and this is, I don't know when, this is for the future. This isn't for 2018 and such, but it's another prediction I have is I think there's going to be a DC versus Marvel characters movie, like they did the crossover in the comics. I think they'll do crossovers between DC and Marvel in the films as well.
You keep predicting that. That's a tough sell, though, man.
It'll have to happen a few years down the road where the popularity's dropping, and then they're looking for something.
It'll be Hulk versus Solomon Grundy.
No, Grundy's just gonna get his ass kicked. No, we need to do Thor versus Wonder Woman and see Wonder Woman put that guy in his place.
Oh, that would rock. That would rock.
Yeah, which version of Thor, though? Because they've got the female version now, haven't they?
The movie version. It's got to be all the movie versions, obviously, if we're going to do movie crossovers.
Yeah, well, she can't even pull Thor's hair anymore. He's had a buzz cut, hasn't he?
She doesn't have to. Why would she pull his hair? Just punch him in the face.
A prediction that I have for the shorter term is that the trial of the Flash coming up in the second half of the season will not be the rest of the season. It'll only be a portion, and then there'll be like a third pod of episodes that'll be something else leading off of that.
I hope so. I don't want to see a trial for the whole half.
I swear, I don't either. I really don't either.
Is this Law and Order we just turned into?
Yeah, it's more like a hope than a prediction, because I can see them going. I can see the trial of the Flash arc lasting for like 4 episodes.
I think that storyline's going to go by fast.
Yeah, I mean, basically what they'll do is...
worst.
But Barry Allen will be the prosecution as well as the defense attorney, and we're going... And
maybe Iris can now become a lawyer, too, since they decided to not have her be a reporter anymore, and she's now the head of Team Flash. Maybe she'll become a lawyer overnight.
Yeah, she's had loads of jobs as Iris, hasn't she?
Well, look, you know it's ridiculous that they totally dropped the whole reporter thing, and they just decided now she...
Oh, yeah, it is.
It wasn't done organically, is what I'm saying. Just,
No, it wasn't.
I don't have a problem if they did it, but
it's like Lana Lane from Smallville, where they just didn't know what to do with her, and they're just trying different things. I'm waiting for when she becomes a witch. Remember where they did that, Lana Lane?
Oh, that was just one episode. That was hilarious, though.
That was just one of many things they did with Lana Lane.
I like Lana, man. I know, yes, she bounced around. I liked Lana. I like her and Clark. I mean, Lois and Clark, of course, is how it should have ended, which it did, but
yeah,
Lana was cool. I like Kristen Krug a lot, actually. So
yeah, I would have liked a lot more if they'd been able to do the finale. They had him turn in Superman in the finale. I would have liked to have seen him just do a couple of episodes where it was proper Superman, and then end it.
I would just like they had shown him full on in the costume instead of that weird thing they did.
Yeah, that CGI flyby. It just didn't work. It just saw that was
terrible. That last episode was really bad, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That was them not delivering a promise that they had made for the beginning.
Yeah, and the whole red, blue, blur thing, it kind of run its course.
I like the red, blue, blur. Come on. No, I'm glad they didn't. I never wanted him to be Superman until maybe the final episode, but I don't think he should have been before that.
Yeah, I think that was fine. I just wish they had shown him like truly as Superman.
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know, did they spend all their money or something and they couldn't afford it?
No, it was a choice. Like Tom Mullen said, he pushed for that. He didn't want to show it. He thought it would be a disservice to the fans, which I think I didn't get that, but whatever.
A hope of mine for the DCU is Supergirl. I don't mind that they have Kara shipping with Mon-El. They're going to ship whoever they want on the CW. What I mind is that if they're going to ship these characters, they need to have them actually talk about their issues. Like, these are 2 characters who are coming off of planetary extinction events. And instead of discussing the actual, planetary extinction events and what those mean for their longer term futures, they're just angsting about whether they can be together without the layers and the subtext that would logically be there. For instance, logically, Kara part of her would have wanted Mon-El to marry her, make her the princess of Daxam, and bring her back to Daxam, not to be a princess, but because Daxam was the one salvageable world they had between them. And she really wants to save a world. She wants the same thing as her aunt and uncle. It's just that she wants to save a world that actually needs to be saved instead of actually superimposing a new world on top of the existing one. But she wants it's the same drive. She wants to save the world, and Earth doesn't need to be saved on that level. And she and Mon-El didn't actually have that actual conversation. Instead, they're whining about mothers-in-law and the fact that she can't get along with his parents. And I'm like, what is this narrative? These are not your issues. These are not your issues.
That's a really cool point. I never actually thought of it that way, but you're right. I guess usually in a story like that, the protagonist would want to continue their world in some way, right? Or rebuild, restart. That's usually the story, right? The journey that they're going through. Yeah. And in this, you're right. It's very CW teeny angst, even though they're not teenagers, but relationship angst instead of there's never any talk about that. Yeah. Like, Krypton's dead. I'm sad about it, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I want Kara's arc to be more like the Martians, because the Martians are actually facing their problems. The Martians are actually facing the fact that they're the last Martians. And Supergirl, except for like an episode here, an episode there, doesn't really deal with it. And it's not okay, because I know that I happen to know, even though I don't read a lot of comics, I happen to know from folks who do, that canon Supergirl ends up living on a Kryptonian colony elsewhere. She eventually does leave because she feels the need to actually continue her people and be that and do that. And I'm hoping that the Supergirl series ends on that some note along those lines, because Kara needs to get to the point where she gets past the CW crap and actually deals with organically what her issues actually are.
I've got a prediction for you.
What?
I predict that Supergirl's going to get cancelled and she's going to end up on Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, get out of here.
That's not happening.
Get out of here. It's terrible.
I predict Legends of Tomorrow might get cancelled. If any of
Marx thinks one of them is, and if Legends is the one, if anything.
I'm hoping that if they do cancel Legends, they find something to do with the characters and just reallocate them so that we can still see.
And that's an easy one to do, where you could destroy a ship.
Most of them came from other shows anyways.
Yeah. You could reintegrate them as supporting cast in other shows real easy. Or you can't do that with the other. Supergirl would have nowhere to go. I mean, I guess she'd get lost to another Earth, but it would be much harder to...
Yeah, no, she'd go back home.
Yeah, they could easily just cancel Legends and carry it on as an animated series. That'd work really well as an animated show.
It would.
Yep.
Have you watched The Ray?
No.
6 episodes of The Ray. It's really good. It's really good.
I predict Marx and I, every show, will continue to talk about a Birds of Prey show, and they will continue to not give us one.
Yep. That was almost a certainty.
That's definitely a certainty.
I will keep saying puns, like, I don't think you have to worry about that ship between Supergirl and Mon-El, because I think that ship is sunk.
They're going to say sailed. Okay, sunk. That's better. You know what there might be, though? Maybe they might do a Birds of Prey movie. That's more possible than a show, probably.
That could work. And depending on casting, it could be cool.
I mean, they're doing Gotham Sirens, right? Or whatever they're calling it.
I'm actually looking forward to that one.
All right, Mark, why do you shake your heads at this stuff? You don't want to see Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, and Catwoman in a movie?
Well, I love Suicide Squad, and I don't think they did a very good job, so I don't want them to butcher...
No, all right. So it's not that you wouldn't want to see those characters; just you don't think they're going to do them justice. Right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if they're going to do them justice. That's all.
Harley Quinn, they did though. Harley Quinn was the one I think good thing about that movie. They did her right.
Yeah.
For the most part.
All they need to do is get.
I think Margot Robbie was great.
She's awesome.
Yeah, I thought she was great in Neighbours as well.
She was in Neighbours?
Yeah, it was the Australian soap that she actually it was her first job before going to America. You know, she kind of got well known in this country on Neighbours, because we get that soap here. Also, Chris Hemsworth was on another show that we get here called Home and Away, and Russell Crowe had a brief stint in Neighbours. He was in one scene, and then we seen him in Gladiator.
A lot of Australians made it big.
I thought you were talking about that sci-fi comedy show that was on for
No. No, Neighbours is a soap. It's set in a suburb. It's set in a suburban neighbourhood in Australia, and it's like it just so happens that a lot of your Australian actors that have made it big in the States have come from that show, and if it's not been that show, it's been another show that they have called Home and Away. So
cool.
Ian Fisher, the actress Ian Fisher. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Mm-hmm.
She was in Home and Away before she went over to the States, and so I did a few films. The only film I've seen her in really is Wedding Crashers, and I didn't really like it. So, but,
cool.
So I predict you're going to get more Australian imports from Neighbours.
Maybe.
And I think, anything else before we go? Do you want to mention your various shows and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, thanks. So Marx and I do a show, like Ian mentioned, called DC Action Hour, where we talk all the DC superhero shows. So Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow. Mark, stop punching. Jesus Christ, you're so distracting. I know you can't see this, folks, but he does all this karate whenever I talk about it.
Black Lightning, too.
Yes, I'm very excited. I think Marx is too. We're going to add Black Lightning when we return, because Black Lightning is about to debut in a few weeks. So we're on a little bit of a hiatus now because all those shows are, but January 21st is our next show back. That's when the shows return and Black Lightning debuts. So we talk about the new episodes every week. We also have a lot of guests on. Like we've had the Cupid actress, Amy Gumanek, and Anatoly, David Nichol. We're having actually David Sobolov, who plays Grodd, on our show on January 21st.
Awesome.
He's going to be our guest, yeah. So we talk to them, then we talk to the new episodes, and there's a live chat, so we love hearing from you guys. And also, actually later that week, January 24th, the new season of Super Geeked Up Live will debut. That is my geeky chat and improv comedy show. So we talk all different kinds of geeky stuff, superheroes, sci-fi, fantasy, and we do these zany games. It's kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway, but we put a geek theme on it, spin on it. So we always have a lot of fun. We have different guests on there as well. And I think Mark and Ian, you both, I think, have been on that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, that'll be 11 p.m. on Wednesdays Eastern Time, and DC Action Hour is Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And there's always live chats going on for all those. Supergeekedup.com and Super Geeked Up on YouTube is where you can find and subscribe to all that stuff.
Cool. And Matt's...
You can find me over at marxpyle.com, where you can find links to episodes of the podcast GenreTainment on this feed, where we do interviews with different writers, actors, producers, and such. And with me and my co-host Julie. Also there you can find out about whatever other projects I'm working on, because I'm like Jeff, I'm an indie filmmaker, and I'm also an author and all that stuff. So, and you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Marx.
Okay, well, obviously with us, you can find us on SciFiPulseRadio.com, where you can also find GenreTainment episodes, and you can also find some of Raissa's work, as well as my own, and as Matt's on SciFiPulse.net. Where we're doing lots of comic reviews, TV reviews, and Big Finish audio reviews, so you might want to check those out. Thank you all for listening. Wish you all a happy Christmas, which is probably going to be over by the time we get this up, and a happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
We will get it up before.